in internet years. But luckily I am the first person in the world to make one of these. Kind of like when I invented the Minecraft Let's Play. So I'm very excited. So let's get started. There will be spoilers. There will be plenty of spoilers. There will be probably 80% of everything I say will probably be a spoiler. So if you haven't seen the film, go back to underneath your rock and stay there. So anyway, some facts about the film. Just your typical stats. It came out this year, 2019. It has a runtime of 3 hours and 1 minute. So really puts it up there, with the longest of them, like these titans of the industry, like the Wolf of Wall Street and the Lord of the Rings films, and even those kind of film. Troy, that's the one I was thinking about. Just really, really interesting facts. It was directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, and it was written by MCU veterans Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, of course based on characters and works by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. On IMDb it currently has a rating of 8.8, but that's bound to change because at first people were still in like the hype phase of its lifetime, so people are just giving it 10s all over the place, but then people slowly start making more objective and cold reviews, and that's when it goes down a little bit, but I think it'll still stay in the top, at least 100 for sure. On Rotten Tomatoes it has an average rating of 92%. It was given a 95% rating by critics, and an 89% rating by audience members. So, without further ado, let's get into what I actually thought of the film, because in the end, what I think is really what matters. So, I want to start by talking about the writing and how the movie was structured, and what I thought of it, basically the script, how it was written, the story, the emotional impact, and then I'm gonna delve into the characters. First, the story. I really see this as sort of two separate stories, two separate movies almost, because it really changes, everything about the film changes in the climactic scene when Thanos from 2014 invades Earth in 2019, and they have to fight him. Up until then, it's this time travel story arc with they call it the time heist, and I think it was awesome, for what it was. But what it was first and foremost was sort of a love letter to the fans and to the MCU and the 11 years of superhero films that have just come to an epic conclusion. And I really thought it was a bit like, I think it was episode 8 of season 5 of The Flash, which was the 100th episode overall of the series. And not everyone watches The Flash, but I do. I think it's good enough, and after all, it's all we have. But in that episode, they sort of took a look back at what had been in the previous seasons. So premise of the episode, the plot was that they had to find some pieces, like some materials and stuff that they had been in contact with earlier in the show. So they went back and they met the villain from season 1, and then they ran into the villain of season 2, and then they were around the villain of season 3, and then they skipped the 4th one because the 4th and 5th seasons are sort of connected. But it was really mostly about the nostalgia and just looking back, kind of like in old sitcoms. The only one that comes to mind for me is Friends, because I haven't really watched a lot of those. When I say old, I mean like, well, from the 20th century, from the 1900s, well, from the 90s in this case, where they have, like, to save money, they just do a clip show with a little bit of story, but then they show clips from earlier episodes, and that's basically kind of what I thought about the time travel part of Endgame. It wasn't bad by any measure, but well, the story itself could have been something completely original, and I absolutely didn't think it had to be. I really liked what it was, but that's basically how I interpreted it. Sorry. And then it very quickly switched into this huge battle, and that part I think was just amazing. Probably one of my favorite scenes of the entire MCU, and that's why I really, it's hard to make a review of the whole film, because it's well, it's really divided. Yeah, it sort of had to divide it into these two parts. For me, at least, I had to, and then give it an average score of whatever it is. But okay, continuing with the script and such. I think what they wrote, it made sense. All of it, like, first of all, that they had to go back in time, and that was the solution, and everything they did. And it makes sense for the characters, and for the plot as a whole. But mostly it was, what it really did was signify the end of an era, because after all, there have been 22 film. Well, this was the 22nd film of the MCU. It was we're in the 11th year of the MCU as a pop culture phenomenon. So I really think they did that spectacularly, like wrapping up this whole The Infinity Saga that well, us fans have been religiously watching and following for this past decade, and really that was pretty much the point of this movie, I'd say, and they nailed it. It was heartfelt, and the story was good and everything, and it was just the perfect ending to this era. And so let's dive into the emotional impact a little bit more. First of all, the comedy. I don't think anyone has ever said comedy with such a serious tone before. I hope no one ever will again. Anyway, I laughed till I cried. Then I cried till I laughed. But they really managed to sneak in some really good funny moments and moments of levity in this story that was otherwise quite heavy. The whole setup was very serious, with half the universe being wiped out and them having to save it. But they managed to still make it funny and not dark and annoying, which is is, a route they easily could have gone down, but I'm glad they didn't. And also, the jokes don't seem completely unnatural, and they don't distract from the story as a whole, which is sometimes tricky to do, but they did it. Now, as for the spectacle of it all, and also the sort of nostalgia, how it made you feel as a fan, also think then, look, I'm mostly gonna say that they nailed it in a bunch of different ways, but I'm gonna sort of tell you why. There's a lot of fan service, if you can call it that. Someone said that fan service is when it's just shoehorned in there, but when it's good, it's payoff. But it is fan service, sort of a lot of it. But there's nothing wrong with that. If you do it well, then it's great. If it works, then fantastic, And I really think they did that with all these moments, like seeing just everything's chaos, and then boom, Ant-Man becomes giant man and rises up from the ruins of the Avengers facility. Awesome. All of a sudden, Captain America is wielding Thor's hammer. Probably my favorite moment of the whole film. Iron Man saying "I am Iron Man" before sacrificing himself. Amazing. Really perfectly done. And as a fan, I am so satisfied with what it all came down to. And that really requires great writing in order to make those things seem natural and good, and like I said, not just shoehorned into the story. And it really is payoff for everything we've seen earlier. It all started with that line, "I am Iron Man," and it's fitting that it ends the same way. And we saw Captain America almost being able to pick up Mjolnir in Age of Ultron, and here he actually did it. And then also, of course, Professor Hulk, but I'll get into that later. So really, this is in every way a movie for the fans, as sort of a thank you for watching all this, all the movies that have come out over the last 11 years. And they did it in such a natural and smooth way that I think, it couldn't have been better. And then, of course, the writing, it made me feel real stuff, Man, it was real right there. I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I sat there shaking, trying to not make sounds when Tony died, because it would have been really annoying having someone sitting in the theater just bawling their guts out. But really, I did not think I didn't even know I liked Iron Man that much as a character. And I didn't know I cared that much before he actually died, and I started, I don't know, my brain started melting and pouring out through my eyes. So amazing. There are no words basically to describe how great that writing has to be, which sort of makes the concept of a review redundant, but no, really. Perhaps it doesn't, since the foundation has already been laid when you when making a movie like this. Maybe I don't know how much that contributes to the actual emotion and how much it's this original script, but while still the whole thing, I have to review it as a whole, and I really journey as many of the other Avengers, but he's well, he certainly plays a big part, and he does grow as a character, I think, from being this sort of street crook to, well, when we see him first, he's just gotten out of prison and is, well, he's starting to adapt to society again, trying to become a member of society once more. And in this movie, he's all of a sudden he's the one who can provide the Avengers with like the means to bring back half the life in the universe. So that's a big step for a character, and that he actually feels like he has to do that and everything. Well, he did lose, personally, he did lose Hope and Hank and Janet, I guess. Seeing him take on that responsibility and actually doing everything that needs to be done, risking his life, even though his daughter survived, he sets out on a very dangerous mission, risks his life and everything to bring back everyone else. So that's some great growth, for the character, and I'm hoping we see some more of that development and see where it leads. So let's talk about the Guardians. They're not in it much. Only Rocket Raccoon and Nebula actually survived Infinity War, and Rocket doesn't really, well, he's not really the focus of the story, which I think is fair. I mean, he wouldn't have that much to do. It's clear that he has dealt with the grief of losing his friends, his family, and he says that to Thor. But it's been 5 years, so he's probably handled that in the background, and it would have been redundant seeing him actually do that throughout the whole film. It would have taken too much time. Now Nebula continues on this path that she has been on throughout all the movies we've seen her in. She sort of she regrets the bad things she's done. She hates Thanos, is trying to mend her relationship with her sister, but well, when she's dead, she instead joins her sister's friends. She tries to do the right thing, and ends up becoming way less selfish, way more selfless, and that's always a great character arc. So I hope we see more of her development as well moving forward. Now, of course, Gamora died in Infinity War, and since she wasn't killed in the snapping, she wasn't resurrected as such in Endgame. However, Gamora from 2014 is brought to the present, and then she disappears after the battle, and to me it's still unclear whether she survived Tony's snap or not. I really hope she did, because I think it would make for a great plot in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Half of it could be them searching for her, and then maybe they find her halfway through, and that could lead to some real drama, with her not remembering them and all the things they've done, but all the Guardians remember her, and she's this completely different person, even though she's the same. Real quick about Captain Marvel, she's in it. I was sort of led to believe by the trailers and the post-credit scene in Infinity War that she was gonna be one of the Avengers and really play a big part in the whole story, but she's only sort of in 2 scenes. She brings Tony to Earth, and then she fights Thanos and his army in the end. drones and everything started firing at her, and then she just blew right through his ship. And then when she fought Thanos and he tried to headbutt her and nothing happened, that was cool. But I didn't really care about it. I didn't really care enough about her as a character, because her movie didn't really make me care too much about her, which is sad to say, but it's how I feel. And I think they really missed a lot of potential there with that character. So what I'm saying is basically that her impact was too small for me to actually care. She's only been in the MCU officially like since her movie came out, and we've only known about her sort of since the end of Infinity War. If she had been established as like this, I don't know, since the beginning or something, or at least for a long time, as this sort of super being, now I'm just spitballing here basically, but something if we knew about her and we really would have, I don't know, cared more about basically thinking, oh, she's the solution. If we saw her, boom, everything would be fine if she came and helped. And then she does, and it's not really like, yeah, okay, it's cool, but well, we still really only want to see the original Avengers fight Thanos, because that's who we care about. But speaking of Thanos, he is killed twice in this film. So the one we saw the one we got to know in Infinity War, he dies immediately, almost. And then, well, 2014, Thanos comes back. Comes back, he doesn't, well, he does make a return since 2014, and he comes to 2019, and he realizes that his goal should be to wipe out the entire universe instead of just half the life in it, which I've heard some people say is sort of a generic villain objective. I agree, but well, it sort of makes sense, I think, with his character and everything, and but it makes him less of a grey character and more of just a terrible, bad guy, which is what he is, what he's always been, but it doesn't allow for the same nuance in his character as his motivation in Infinity War did. But well, I still think what he was supposed to do in this film and what he did do was enough. He played his part, and I think worked great. Now let's move on to the main ones, the main Avengers, the 6 people we have gotten to know since the beginning of the MCU. Of course, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. Well, Iron Man, of course, made his first appearance in Iron Man from 2008. The Hulk was in The Incredible Hulk, but then his character was expanded upon in the Avengers. Thor, of course, appeared in Thor 2010. Came back in the Avengers. Captain America from Captain America, the First Avenger, 2011. And then Black Widow appeared in Iron Man 2 from 2010. And Hawkeye, well, he was in Thor, but their characters were really expanded upon in the Avengers. My point about that was probably that, well, these are the characters we've followed throughout the years. They've been in the most films. I mean, if you count, Black Widow hasn't had a solo movie yet, but she's been in Iron Man 2, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the Avengers, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So she's been in 7 films, if I'm not missing anything. So she is really a really important character in MCU. And I want to start by talking about her and Hawkeye, so Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton. They play a big part in this film, of course. Both of their characters have gone through tremendous changes. Clint lost his entire family and set out on a mission to punish those who survived the snap, but didn't make the most of the life they got to keep. And Black Widow still tries to keep the world together, tries to still be an Avenger, even though the world has gone to crap. And their defining scene in this movie is, of course, when one of them has to sacrifice themselves in order for the other to get the Soul Stone. Now, I personally thought that Black Widow should be the one to do it. To me, it made sense, sort of because, well, like they say in the film, the Avengers are really her family, and of course she would sacrifice herself for them in a heartbeat. But well, meanwhile, Hawkeye had a family. He was always trying to retire and spend more time with them. But, well, they were of course killed, but the point was to bring them back. And then it would have been terribly sad for them to not have their, like the patriarch of the family, have their dad, for his wife to not have her husband after all that. He makes this interesting point about having become a monster, like, you know, the things he's done, all the people he's killed during these 5 years, when his family has been dead. And that's, you know, it's a good point. Does he really deserve to live? Should he do something right, and sort of redeem himself? But still, I think, you know, it doesn't really have to define him as a character. I still think that it was the right thing to do, sort of let him be with his family, and Natasha just really doing what she, well, dying the way she would have chosen to die, sacrificing herself for the people she loves. But it was a really great scene, I think. Them sort of using their skills to make the ultimate sacrifice, and just really showed the love between the two, the strong connection that they share, and I think it was really sweet. Let's move on to the Hulk, Bruce Banner. I personally wasn't really a fan of Professor Hulk. That was his big thing, like throughout the film, of course. During these 5 years that passed between Infinity War and Endgame, or between the beginning of Endgame and a couple of minutes later in Endgame, he'd spent a lot of time in his lab, and then finally found a solution to like his Hulk problem, and he'd merged the physical character of the Hulk with his with Bruce Banner's brain, basically his mind, and I think, well, for him as a character, sure, he solved the problem that has been his huge character arc. That's his his thing, but I don't really think it made a whole lot of sense, because from what we've seen of Bruce Banner and being the character that we've gotten to know, it doesn't really make sense that he would make the decision to become this huge green monster forever, because now he's never gonna be able to live a normal life. He's not gonna be able to get married, have kids, or anything. He's this big green weirdo Also, I think it sort of changed his character a lot, because now he's all of a sudden confident and well, I don't know, he's not this shy scientist guy that he was before. Before, of course, he was always afraid that he was gonna turn into the Hulk and destroy everything, destroy all of his relationships, and now he doesn't have to be afraid of that in the same way. But, like I said, I think there must have been a better solution to all of that. Otherwise, I enjoyed his emotional journey and being like, you know, saying I was made for this, and well, being ready to sacrifice himself by snapping everyone else back, and really being sad when Natasha dies. I think that was good, but yeah, that's basically my assessment of him. Moving on to Thor. Now, Thor is my favorite Avenger, is my favorite MCU character. Thor Ragnarok is my favorite MCU movie. And I think the way they treated him in this film was interesting, to be sure. But, well, I don't know, I'm torn. Or thorn. No, look, it's obvious that he feels extremely guilty that he was so close to killing Thanos, and well, ultimately failed, and that caused the extinction of half the life in the universe. But still, the way they treated that, like it was a big joke, and he was sort of the comic relief. That, like, the joke being that he was fat. Now that was, well, I don't know. It like I liked the thing about, like, it didn't matter. He was super depressed. He felt like he had failed his people and basically everyone in the universe. But and he was, well, depressed and all that, and he handled it in the Thor way we've come to expect. But still, I think they could have handled it with a bit more sort of, I don't know, it was very subtle drama to it. But it could have been less subtle, basically, that's what I'm saying. I really liked that he was still, the point was that it didn't matter how he felt and how he, like, looked physically and all of that. He was still worthy, he was still the same person. That was a beautiful message. But then again, when it comes to, like, his actual physical appearance, with all the hair mainly, that sort of bugged me, because in a movie where there's so much fan service and everything is made to be spectacular, he sticks out like a Thor thumb. Haha, yes, nailed it. With, like, the braided beard and the braided hair in the end, and it felt so bad when people were laughing at his face in the theater. That is something I'm gonna be traumatized by for the rest of my life. But okay, that's what I thought about Thor. Now, Captain America, I don't really have a lot of things to say about him without just, you know, going through everything he's done in the entire MCU. I think it was a really beautiful send-off to his character, him finally getting to be with the love of his life. I didn't expect that to happen, but I'm glad that it did. And it was, you know, really nice that he got back to his humble origins, pretty much. He didn't need to be this huge hero for everyone. He just wanted to, you know, deep down have a simple life, live the American dream, the Captain American dream. Yeah, I think that was, and him being worthy of picking up Mjolnir, awesome. I mean, like I said earlier, amazing scene, and really shows that what a fantastic character he was. The one thing I thought about when I guess preparing slightly for this was that his maybe perhaps his character arc throughout the entire MCU should have had a bit more darkness to it, because there were a lot of ups, but there should have been more downs, and him sort of trying to come to terms more with his honor and all of that, whatever, everything he stands for. And yeah, that way it would have been more of a development. But I think it was really nice, very nice send off, like I said. Now, lastly, Iron Man. It was, I mean, what to say, beautiful, fantastic. I would have been disappointed, honestly, if he hadn't died. But the way because, well, it added the gravity needed to really sell this film. It was the heart of the climax, and the perfect ending to the Infinity Saga and everything he started with him. It makes sense that it should end with him, and him saving the day, pretty much. I think that was great, really. So I mean, I don't know what to say really about that. And since I've been talking for so long, I probably shouldn't say anything more. Really well done, amazing. Just the feelings that I felt, I didn't even know I had the capacity to feel stuff at all. But well, yeah, really, the development he's gone throughout the entire MCU, with you know, his moral ambiguity sort of in the first one, and him wanting to change his ways, not sell his weapons, but instead try to fight for the good, well, for the good guys. That just starting with that, and then moving on to his sort of anxiety about not being able to protect everyone, to save everyone, and not being able to keep the people he loves safe. And like we saw in Endgame, with him really being crushed that he wasn't able to save Peter. And in Age of Ultron, when his worst nightmare is really sitting on like a pile of his friends' corpses, and really that anxiety, basically, the PTSD from actually managing to save Manhattan in the Avengers, and it almost costing him his own life. All of that, the whole development, everything he's gone through. It was just such a perfect ending to it all. And I couldn't have asked for more, really. So, with that said, I suppose this will be the ending of my review. I